This week we catch up with Zombie Studios for the latest on upcoming PS4 horror experience, Daylight. And if one upcoming game's not good enough, how about a little more news on Mad Max? As well as all that, to celebrate the Western launch of Project Diva F on PlayStation Vita, we would like to introduce you to Japanese virtual pop sensation Hatsune Miku. This is Player Attack. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this week we have a birthday to celebrate. EverQuest first launched back in 1999 at a time when only 42% of Americans owned a computer and even less actually had the internet at home. The game was resource hungry and required a dedicated 3D graphics card, but it still took the world by storm. Since then, we've seen expansion sets, a fully fledged sequel, references in The Simpsons and Time magazine, and the life-changing introduction of the pizza command, which would get a piping hot Pizza Hut delivery directly to your door. Happy 15th birthday, EverQuest! The next update is, of course, EverQuest Next, coming to PC and PS4 real soon now. Coming to shelves a little earlier than that, The Elder Scrolls Online, which recently finished its last round of beta testing. Just in case you thought Bethesda was simply going through the motions, game director Matt Furore would like to point out that beta tester feedback really is changing the direction of the game. Fans complained they were too constrained by the experience between levels 1 and 10, so the studio is working out how to change how that all plays out. Similarly, the level curve around major cities is also being reworked, and the melee combat system is in line for some serious upgrades. Continuing the theme of games getting improvements thanks to fan feedback, Australian Titanfall gamers are now able to play on local servers thanks to a serious effort from EA, Respawn and Microsoft. While the rest of the world plays on Microsoft's new cloud computing platform, Azure, the service hasn't quite launched yet here in Australia, so the studios had to work together to create a new custom solution. While the game was certainly playable on Southeast Asian servers, the new Sydney-based ones have improved the game out of sight. Some more Australian-based news, Watch Dogs has been reclassified ahead of the game's release in May. Last September, the game was rated MA15+ for strong impact themes and violence, but this week it was bumped up to R18+, with the board noting the game contains references to sexual violence and sex scenes. Ubisoft has explained that the extra time given to Watch Dogs to polish and tune the game was also used to add a bit of additional content, and those extra scenes brought with them the extra adult themes. Watch Dogs is set for release around the world on May 27 for PC, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360 and Xbox One, but the Wii U version still hangs under a cloud. A couple of quick things from Blizzard this week too. Pre-orders are officially open for the next World of Warcraft expansion, Warlords of Draenor. We still don't have an actual release date, but if you jump in right now, you can boost your toon up to level 90 straight away. Just a word of warning though, it does seem that some World of Warcraft purists are picking on gamers who are choosing the level boost option, so be careful when you're picking your raid partners. Blizzard also confirmed that Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft has ended its beta test, with the virtual card game now launched and free to play by anyone who wants to jump into the tavern. Playing the game now will earn you a few nifty bonuses, an exclusive mount for your World of Warcraft character, a bunch of new card backs, and the ability to unlock golden heroes after winning 500 games in ranked play. There's also good news on the horizon for fans of Arma 3. The third and final part of the game's single-player campaign will be released on March 20th as a free download for everyone who picked up the multiplayer game last year. Similarly, SimCity developer Maxis has confirmed that long-awaited Update 10 is in final testing. This means that offline support for the game is edging ever closer to release, the complete opposite of what we were told just 12 months ago when the game first launched. Fans of old-school RTS, take note. Petroglyph Games, the developer that rose from the ashes of Command & Conquer creators Westwood Studios back in 2003, is working on a brand new game. Titled Grey Goo, we are promised classic established gameplay mechanics reinterpreted through modern design tools and technology. We don't know much yet about the goo, the humans or the beta, but we are very interested in learning more over the next little while. And another one that we're looking forward to learning more about is Angry Birds epic. This is something very different to the usual physics-based puzzler we've seen from the franchise. Rovio is instead working on an adventure role-playing game, boasting both an extensive crafting system and a healthy dose of turn-based combat. We're getting a story-driven campaign with the ability to create your own armor, potions, and weapons in-game, and there will be microtransactions involved if you don't like the idea of earning all of your resources just by playing. Angry Birds Epic has hit the iTunes App Store in Australia, New Zealand and Canada in what Rovio calls an early form, but the final version is due to hit the entire world on iOS, Android and Windows Phone 8 sometime later this year. For more information on any of these stories or to keep up to date with the latest gaming news, head to playerattack.com, but for now, stick around, we've got plenty more still to come.
Kill me.
I'm here at EB Expo 2013 with Emil from Avalanche Studios. We are talking about Mad Max, which is in Australia for the first time with an Australian actor in the lead role. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for getting us there.
When the game was first revealed at E3 this year, I know that while most people accepted it as being, something that we've always wanted, there was a bit of backlash from us Aussies because, Mad Max, he's an Australian character and he had the wrong voice. So was it the petition, was it the backlash that you guys got? What actually prompted you to change the voice to the right sort of man?
I think it was the collected feedback that we got from, and not just from Aussies, like from all around the world, that this is a really important thing for the sort of the heritage of the franchise, and we were just happy to be in a position where we, like in production, where we could say yes, this feedback is very valid, and we're actually in a position to change this, and of course we should do it, and the result is, the game is much better for it, and we're very thankful to be able to have done that. You can really tell where this franchise comes from, and there's a lot of love from Australians for it, and we're really happy to be able to bring the game to you.
When we did catch up with the game last time, we didn't get to hear much about the story. We just knew it's coming, and that was about it. How much more are you able to talk about at this stage?
Well, we regarding the story, it's obviously about Max. He, at the start of the game, he loses his interceptor. It's stolen by a warlord, and he teams up with this unlikely character called Chumbucket, who is a wasteland mechanic known as a Blackfinger, and he is a very interesting character. He's almost religious, and he perceives everything mechanical as something godly. He and Max teams together to build a new car, and for Max it's just a tool to survive and escape the wasteland, but for Chumbucket it's an embodiment of the gods brought to the people. So he's sort of a religious nutter, and just a fabulous character. And so that's sort of the goal of the game, is to build this car, and that's something that the player do very much in gameplay, and how the car is, like what the car will end up being will be different for each player, because it will so much depend on what choices you make and how you prefer to play, and there are so many customization options for it. So that's a huge part of the game.
I'm guessing that it's not just as simple a matter of just popping down the local shop and picking up, 4 wheels and a few doors and a few bits and pieces. How do you find the parts to make the car?
Well, obviously in the wasteland resources are scarce, and this goes, across the board. Obviously for the car upgrading, finding metal scrap and pieces of old car parts will be a huge part of like what you do in the wasteland, and what side missions you do, and what you go out and try to find. But there will also be like food and water will be important for the character's health. Fuel obviously is a really important resource in the wasteland, and all of that ties into what you actually do and how the gameplay pans out.
I'm guessing there might also be a few people who might not want you to build the car too.
Yes, so I mean, when I say go out and look for it, it's really fight for it, because whatever's left, someone will have snatched it, and you will have to just take it from them and be the stronger one.
This is not a film tie-in game, is it?
No, it's certainly not. I mean, that was a very important thing for us from the start, going into this development, that this is not just another movie tie-in. This is something that is a game first and foremost. We want core gamers to be able to enjoy this, and we want to make a game that we love to play ourselves. And obviously, we still want it to take place in this wasteland that we've grown up and learned to love through the movies, and it certainly will. But it's not specifically tied to any of the previous movies or the upcoming movie.
Speaking of, there are some things that are different in the upcoming movie to the originals. Does the game tie more closely to one or the other, or is it just part of the Mad Max universe and it's a different take?
I would say it's a different take. It's a unique experience. Obviously, I mean, we've seen the previous movies, and I guess everyone in the team has their own favorites, minus number 2. But we draw a lot of inspiration from that, and I think a lot of it, what you'll probably see more of one single movie, or what you like, how the world is depicted in any one of the single movies. But it's very much a standalone experience.
We know how much you love gadgets, how much you love good audio, and how much you hate it when your controller batteries run flat. Thanks to our friends at Turn Left, we have a pretty great little Geotech prize pack to give away to one lucky Player Attack viewer. We've got a shiny new EX03 Bluetooth PS3 headset, an AC1 PS3 charger, and just in case you thought we were playing favourites, an AC1 Xbox 360 charger as well. Want 'em? All you have to do to win your very own Geotech prize pack is head to playerattack.com, follow the links to the Geotech competition, fill out your name and contact details, and enter this week's key feature, which is on your screen right now. The competition is open to anyone in Australia and New Zealand and runs all the way up until April 11, with the winner announced on Player Attack shortly after. For the full terms and conditions, see playerattack.com. These days, it's all too easy to complain about singers and musicians taking advantage of computerized autotune. That said, there's one Japanese pop sensation who relies on it just a little more than the others, and that's because she is a computer. Hatsune Miku is widely considered to be the world's first virtual pop star. She was created by Krypton Future Media, a company that specialises in musical software like sound generators, background music libraries, and CDs created exclusively for sampling. By 2007, the studio was working on the second series of its popular Vocaloid speech synthesis software. The first product was a sweet female voice sampling Japanese voice actress Saki Fujita. At the time, she was just that, a voice, but Krypton handed creative control over to manga artist Kei Garo, explaining only that she must have a colour scheme including Yamaha synthesizer's trademark turquoise, and she must be an android. The end result, a 16-year-old girl with ridiculously long turquoise pigtails. Her name, Hatsune Miku, Japanese for first sound and future. That is, according to Krypton, first sound from the future. She was an immediate smash hit. She's now not the only virtual pop star, but Hatsune Miku is certainly the most popular. In 2010, Miku was officially crowned a virtual diva, a pop star in her own right, over and above being a simple mascot for a software application. In recent years, Miku has even gone on tour, headlining her own concerts accompanied by live human musicians. She uses the same sort of hologram technology that put Tupac Shakur on stage at Coachella. Her popularity has expanded beyond her home country, and she has played sold-out concerts in Taipei, Hong Kong and Singapore, as well as Los Angeles. But she doesn't just sing. Hatsune Miku is also the star of her very own video games. The Project Diva series features Miku and other Vocaloids providing the tunes behind a devilishly tricky rhythm game. Since the first game in the series landed back in 2009, there have been 5 main titles and 3 spin-off releases, but only one has officially made it out of Japan. If you've played Elite Beat Agents, which was released to Western audiences back in 2006, you'd have a rough idea of what to expect. Pick a song and then crouch over your controller, waiting for precise cues before hitting cross, circle, square, or triangle in time with the on-screen display. Accuracy is rewarded, and levels get unavoidably more challenging as you progress. The original Project Diva was released for PSP, with the PS3 version arriving later and using an early version of crossplay. An arcade-only version followed before a proper sequel, Project Diva 2nd, and an expansion, Project Diva Extend. Now, Sega has decided to bring the pigtailed songstress to Western shores with a localised release of Hatsune Miku Project Diva F. Technically, we first got the game last year for the PS3, but the PlayStation Vita version has just hit virtual shelves, and it's there that Miku and her friends really shine. The handheld format means you can play for just a song or two, make sure you've got headphones if you're on the bus, and while all of the traditional button-pushing gameplay has come across, there's also a new scratch move that takes advantage of the Vita's touchscreens. All 6 of the official Krypton Vocaloids make an appearance. Miku is joined by Luca, Rin, Len, Kato and Mako, and it's almost impossible to play this one all the way through the first time. The music videos being played out behind the glowing symbols are just too distracting, and with 84 different modules to choose from once you've unlocked all the costumes and DLC, you'll never get tired. But, of course, a music game needs good music, and Project Diva F is no different. Miku is essentially an instrument, and Krypton never really gave her a personality, which means she's lent her voice to songs from just about all genres. Project Diva F is pretty heavy on the J-pop, of course, but there are so many different composers here that every song is different. Old favourite Vocaloid musicians like KZ, Livetune, Hachi and Rio contribute to the 38-strong tracklist, which also includes the infectious Nyan Cat song. Now, it's worth noting that it did take Sega and PlayStation nearly 2 years to bring Project Diva F outside of Japan, so you could be forgiven for thinking there's some serious translation work going on behind the scenes. Sorry. Menus, song titles, and the names of modules and items have been translated into English, but the lyrics to each song have been left in Japanese, Romanji to be specific. If you'd been hoping to understand just what Miko is singing about, you'll have to keep looking. But then again, you're not likely to pick this one up for a karaoke session, and while you're busily concentrating on button presses, you hardly notice what the words are, even if they were in a language you understood. Hatsune Miku Project Diva F is, as you might expect, ridiculously Japanese. Sega is taking a bit of a risk bringing the game to Western shores, but after more than 5 years of fan campaigning, we're more than happy she's finally here. We've just had the life scared out of us by a game called Daylight. I'm here with Colin from Zombie Studios, who is the team behind the game. So tell us about Daylight and why it is so terrifying.
So Daylight is a procedurally generated horror game. So we have a long history of making horror games, and one of the things that's great about horror games, but also bad about it, is one, you're scared. That's the time that you're going to be scared. You're never going to be spared by that moment again. Being procedurally generated, every time you play it, the entire world changes every single time. And so what was a monster one time, not going to be around that corner the next time. Or when something jumps out at you, it probably won't be there the next. The entire layout of the entire place will be different. So it changes every time you play, and it makes it a very interesting, exciting, like what's around the corner and exploring and finding new things and whatnot.
quite a lot of the procedurally generated games that we've seen to date have been basically you start at the beginning and then you play until you die, and then you start at the beginning, and there's not necessarily any end point. You just play and you complete as many dungeons or rooms or whatever. That's not the case for Daylight, is it? There is actually a story.
Yeah, so we have a story. We're not talking too much about it, but pretty much while you're exploring, I mean, it's an abandoned hospital, and you can pick up pretty much newspaper clippings, photographs, like all these things. And as you play through the game, you start piecing it together, this pretty much web of a story and what happened at this place and what are the horrible things that might have happened here. And also you understand of maybe it might have something to do with some of the things that you're experiencing yourself as a character. So there could be something around the corner making some noise, and it starts to pretty much, it's a puzzle that you slowly start to build and understand as you play through the game.
And by the same token, you're talking about replayability and that sort of thing, because it is procedurally generated and because it is different every time. Will you, if once you've finished it, is that it? You finished it, there's no point in playing it again, or is there more to discover on the second and third, fourth?
No, actually, so the way that we're building it is I mean, the story's going to tell you what's going on, but there's always going to be new things to collect. We actually hold back some of the items, so it will force you to play it over and over and over again. And also the other side of it is we kind of build a game for the YouTube generation of people like streamers and whatnot of, I'm going to play the game, I can have a fun time playing it, because realistically, you can get a good playthrough in probably a couple hours and whatnot, and have this great experience and go play the next day and have a totally different one. So we want to have that level of experience and that level of replayability, and we've put it into the game, as well as have story elements that will evolve over time as well.
Now, Daylight as we see it today is not quite the way that Daylight was envisioned back originally, is it?
Well, I mean, we had an idea, and with any idea, we have pretty much these things that we just spit out where I was like, gee whiz, that would be cool. And the way that Daylight worked out is we got a hold of Unreal Engine 3 and we just started prototyping. We started experimenting with some ideas, and we found some systems that allow us to, one of our artists built, here's a room, and I clicked a button and all the items in the room moved the next time. And so we're like, there's something with this. And we explored it some more, and slowly with some revisions and just kind of prototyping and whatnot, we have what we now as Daylight.
And then you took it to PAX and showed it off, and then I hear that this little indie project managed to pick up a publisher out of that.
Yeah, so we were originally going to self-publish the game, and we went to PAX East with an idea of, okay, we're going to get people's impressions, we want to see what people think, we want to get people excited about it because we're self-publishing it. We showed a very early build. It was pre-alpha, not expecting, we're just like, where people are going to play it, we know that there's going to be issues, we know that it's still thin. But conceptualize, I mean, the concept's there, and people were terrified by the game. We had people playing it, we had a couple people scream, a couple people yell, one guy tore off the headphones and just looked as if he was scared out of his mind. So at that point we knew something was right about the game. And then from all that great buzz, and we had actually other publishers come up and play it, our phone started to ring shortly after that. And we, after talking with Atlas out of Japan, they were really interested in the title. They wanted to bring it to worldwide, and they also wanted to bring it to PlayStation 4.
Oh my god, what was that?
And that's about it for this edition of Player Attack. Thanks for watching. Next week, it's all about Titanfall. We're making the most of those new Australian servers and getting in on some mech pilot action. Jimmy the Geek rounds up his top 5 video game movies that simply do not suck, and we dig up some of the best player strategies for Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft. In the meantime, you can catch us on playerattack.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, or just hop on our forums. Till next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.